Very much, Madam Chair, and I want to thank all our guests for coming here today on this important issue. My first question is to, I guess it'll be to Mr. Doherty. Lenders and investors knowingly put their money into a business at some calculated risk. They do so with the intention of turning a profit. I see the workers as this type of investor too. They invest their time and labor, and they do it in a return for a paycheck, and in the case of an employer-sponsored defined benefits plan, for a deferred wage. Do you agree that this bill, C-253, would finally put a much-needed change to the standard and culture of how we look at pensions so that workers' investment in a deferred wage comes before investors that do so at a risk for a chance to make a profit?
Thank you. I have heard that term used during the testimony of deferred wages. Personally, wages are something that's earned while you're working for a company, and you earn that. I think what we're here to talk about today is unfunded pension obligations. And why I'm here in particular is to speak to the broader economic impacts of this bill if were it to be adopted, and the need to carefully study this issue given the broader context and the potential negative implications on the broader economy.
Thank you. So, Mr. Thornton, we've had a witness at committee who spoke the matter of concerns around lending when it comes to the change of priority of claims during bankruptcy. In the case of Sun Index Finance versus United Steelworkers, the pension deficit was ruled to be a deemed trust by the Court of Appeal for Ontario. This ruling put pensions higher than even what Bill C-253 is proposing, and this ruling stood for about 2 years. As far as we can see, the sky did not fall for borrowers, and the sky did not fall for the lenders. Can you share any past evidence of measures like those in Bill 253 that negatively affected investors? Would we not expect investors to be able to easily adapt to this change that would bring fairness to workers getting their deferred wage?
Lenders really are not the issue here, and they will find a way to adapt. They may charge more for the risk that they're taking and they can't calculate. But the real person we got to talk about here are the unsecured trade creditors. Now, a 79% recovery for a pensioner is a bad thing. They're expecting 100. But the trade creditors are going to get zeroed under this bill. They're the ones at the bottom of the stack. And today there's often something there for them. There will be nothing if the pension deficit is large and it goes to the top of the stack. And it's the unsecured trade creditors represent the micro, small, and medium businesses in the country that the World Bank estimates account for 80% of economic activity. So they're the ones that are getting affected. And no, they're not going to be able to protect themselves. They're going to still try to sell their products and services on credit and take that risk. And some of their customers are going to go down. And unlike now, where they will get some recovery over time, usually they are going to get zeroed. And for that reason, we should find the other solutions to this problem. Yes, it is a problem. Yes, it needs to be fixed. Inverting the capital stack with the priorities as this bill purports to do is not the right way to do that, in my opinion.
Thank you. But the problem is I keep hearing about trade contractors and the creditors, and it all depends on what type of a contract they have with that company. My next question is to Mr. Cooper, and I want to thank him very much for his intervention. Mr. Cooper, do you believe that members that you represent go into these jobs and sign on to a pension plans knowing that they are going to get something for their years of service, that when they sign on, they're doing so at a risk?
I'm going to try and be brief here. When you sign on, probably you're in your your late teens, early 20s, and you're not even thinking about it. When you get to the point of you're contemplating a retirement, even if you're 10 or 15 years away from it, you are trapped because of the terms of the pension. It's probably based on your best 5 years, and you can't afford to go anywhere else. And you are what we call prisoners of pension. You have to stay there because it's too lucrative not to.
Thank
And
you.
you're definitely staying with the idea that you're going to get what you were told.
I agree with you 100%. So, Mr. Ziegler, do you believe that it's imperative that we make sure this bill somehow has to be identified and work has to be done to make sure that we're protecting our pensioners right across Canada, and that even though over the years all this many committees have been formed, it's time now that we act to make sure that Canadian pensioners are protected.
I fully agree. After 40 years of trying, and we learned 50 years ago that you can create a small super priority for wages and create a wage earner protection plan. Why can't we do the same sort of thing for pensions as a start? The world didn't fall apart because we created a super priority for wages. Let's create one for pensions, and let's create a guarantee fund.
Sure.